So before Vince moves on, we're going to talk a little bit of recruiting, Vince. So we're going to have a show tomorrow night at 9:00 to announce Drayk Bowen, who's going to make his decision. And that's a big one for Notre Dame, right? He's down to Notre Dame, Cincinnati, and Auburn. He is a football, baseball guy, so baseball is going to factor in his decision. Link Jarrett has obviously played a major role in his recruitment as well.
Smart.
So when you look at it, you say, okay, I have been real nervous about this one for a while. I feel a lot better about where Notre Dame is now than I did before. I kind of explained that on the message board, but that's a big one because that's a huge domino to fall on defense one way or the other. If he picks Notre Dame, you are now saying here's the basket, here's all the eggs with Sonny Styles' name on it, and you put them in that basket. Right? So that would be to me a big one, and then you'd beat Clemson and Auburn. You'd beat two Southern schools that he likes a lot and I know his family likes a lot. So I think for me that's kind of how I look at it and say, boy, they've got to get this one, because now you can start putting some of your resources in other places. And when I look at the 2023 class on defense, there's 5 guys on defense that to me are must gets. If you're going to have an elite class, there's 5 guys that are must gets. You've already got 2 of them. Mm-hmm. Right? Brandon Vernon and Keon Keeley. And Keon Keeley was number 1. Then you look at linebacker. Actually, I'm sorry, there's 6 muskets. I got the 2 up front, 2 at linebacker, 2 in the secondary. The linebacker, it's Sonny Styles and Drayk Bowen. You need to get those guys. And then in the secondary, you need 1 elite safety and 1 elite corner. At safety, the target for me is Caleb Downs. He visited this weekend. He's actually Josh Downs' younger brother. Josh Downs, who played receiver for North Carolina. This is his second visit to Notre Dame. He also visited during the summer. Likes Notre Dame a lot. Are they going to get him? I don't know. Are they in it? Absolutely. He is a dude. He's from Georgia. He's a legit top 50 player, borderline 5-star safety, cover guy. And then at corner, there's a group of 3 guys, in my opinion, they got to get one of. And really, I'd say 2 of. They need to get Justin Rhett. He's a top 50 to 100 cornerback from Las Vegas. He goes to Bishop Gorman. He's a must get. And I like where Notre Dame is with him. Then after that, they need to pair him with one of 2 guys, A.J. Harris or Malik Muhammad. They're in it for both of them. Malik Muhammad is a kid from Dallas that surprisingly likes Notre Dame a lot. He's a kid that really likes what Notre Dame has to offer on and off the field. They don't normally get looks from kids like that. And A.J. Harris is a kid that Notre Dame is in on. He likes them. I think they're a player. I just don't feel as good about that one as I did this summer. Those 6 guys, to me, those are the game changers. Notre Dame's already got 2 of them, right? And, I got, our gap closers gear. Brendan Vernon is to a degree that Keon Keeley definitely is.
Yeah.
Drayk Bowen is. So they're all gap closers. They've already got 2 of them. If you get Drayk Bowen, you've already got 3 of them in the class already. 50%
of the way there, yeah.
Now your selling point to Justin Rhett and to A.J. Harris and to Caleb Downs and to Malik Muhammad is look what's in front of you. We got the best linebacking core in the country last year. We got Tyson Ford and Aiden Gabbera. They're beasts. We're already off to a great start linebacker in this class. Drayk Bowen is a legitimate 5-star recruit, ranking and talent. That could be a needle mover. So that they've got to close out. He moved his decision up. It was going to be the 7th. He moved it to the 3rd. Everything I've heard is there's a lot of good movement in that direction. So that's kind of part of it. That 2023 class has got to be elite, and this would be a great way to start that. You had a question, awesome. Vince?
No. I've got a jet because I'm in a different area than I usually am. So things are closing in on me from all angles. But
okay.
But anyway, tonight we'll have a show 8:00 talking about the college football playoff ranking, and then tomorrow 9:00 you'll have a show for recruiting for Drayk Bowen's.
Yep. And I'm going to do a little bit more here about recruiting. Awesome. When you head out, so don't take off yet. But Vince, thanks for being with us. We'll see you again tonight at 8:00.
You bet. All right, sounds good. See you guys tonight.
So just to kind of get into that. I think I'm still putting a list together offensively of the must-gets. I don't have a running back there yet. Receiver, it's Jaylen Brown and Cardinal Tate. I right now don't feel great about where things are going with Cardinal Tate. I do like where things are going with Jaylen Brown, although there's still a lot of work to be done. And quarterback, it's Dante Moore. I mean, that's been that way for a while. Offensive line, Caden Proctor, who's a teammate of Xavier Nwankpa, is a must-get. There's some guys like that on the board that they have to be able to go get. And I think those are things that I look at and say offensively, I feel a lot better, not surprisingly, that Notre Dame is in a lot better position with the must-get elite players on defense than they are on offense right now, which shouldn't surprise anybody. We have a question down here sort of along these lines. Hey, Bob, 157 says, recruiting question, say hypothetically Jackson Arnold, that is a quarterback from Denton, Texas, Ryan High School. Say hypothetically Jackson Arnold wants to commit. Do you take him or wait on Dante Moore? I would not take him. I think there's 3 guys right now that I like more than him, not just Dante Moore. I'm not taking anybody right now unless I've told Dante, hey, we're taking 2 quarterbacks. If he's comfortable with that, then I'm okay taking a Jackson Arnold or an Avery Johnson now. But if you're only going to take one, you wait on Dante Moore. I think that obviously Avery Johnson, I think, is a guy the staff is very high on. And then you look at the kid they just offered, Chris. I think it's Vizzini. I think is the kid from Alabama they just offered. I like him a lot too. So I would not take Jackson Arnold right now. There's no need to take him right now. He's a good football player. He's having a really good junior year, but this is an incredibly deep quarterback class. And so it's a year where you can take a chance waiting on your stud that you want to. And then if you don't get him, there's going to be guys you can go to that are going to be same as, Jackson Arnold type of players or a Jackson Arnold. So there's no need to rush to take him, in my opinion. So when I look at quarterback, plus, look, I know I've kind of been in the minority on this for a while, but I have always felt Notre Dame is in a much better position with Dante Moore than people think. I do. I think that the system they want to run, the things that they've shown this year at times when they have thrown the ball well, the fact that they are putting. I mean, if you're Dante Moore, you're looking at the freshman that Notre Dame's putting on the field this year. When you look at Blake Fisher, you look at Joe Alt along the offensive line. He knows Rocco Spindler. You look at Logan Diggs. You look at Lorenzo Styles. You look at Deion Colsey. You think, boy, those guys are already. And then you look at the next year's class. Jadarian Price is having a monster senior year. You look at Tobias Merriweather, top 50 recruit on SI All-American, top 100 on other people. CJ Williams is a top 100 recruit. You look at the tight ends they're landing, and you say, and if they're able to get Billy Schrauth, this offensive line class is an elite, but it's still pretty good. And so I just feel like that relationship he has with Tommy Rees, the fact that he's liked the Notre Dame for a while, he's been on campus 3 times in the last 6 months. I don't think that's something that you can just sleep on. So I think Notre Dame is in a good place there. Now, if I felt like Notre Dame was losing out on Dante, or they were maybe like 3rd or 4th on his list, and they just weren't going to catch an Ohio State or a Michigan State or a Michigan, then I'd say, yeah, go find your next guy. But I really like where Notre Dame is when it comes to their 2023 quarterback situation. 2022 class. Well, actually, I'll get to something right here real quick. Irishman 7114 says 2023 could be insane. Keeley, Vernon, possibly Bowen, Styles, Downs, Harris, Muhammad. That is a gap-destroying class. I don't think they're going to get all those guys. I don't think they're going to get Harris and Muhammad. My hope is that they can hopefully get one of the two. Is the obviously the objective. So, but it definitely has a chance. And I think the more they start adding, so like Bowen helps you with Styles. Then if you are able to add Styles, that helps you with Downs and Harris and Muhammad. So it's really important that they add these guys as early as possible. And that's why if they're able to get Drayk Bowen again, until he announced, and I'm serious about this. I'm not giving you code for like, I know what's going to happen, but I can't tell you. So sometimes I'll do that. But in this case, yes, everything I'm hearing is good. But Drayk Bowen's recruitment has been very interesting. And until he utters the words Notre Dame, I'm not sure what ultimately he's going to do. I could see him waking up tomorrow morning and even, let's just say hypothetically, he has decided on Notre Dame. It would not shock me if he woke up tomorrow morning and changed his mind. It wouldn't. So, to me, I need to wait to see him make his decision. And then if they are able to get him, that makes it a lot easier to sell to Sonny Styles and to Caleb Downs and these other players. It's a must get for Notre Dame. If they miss on him, there's other guys out there, but then you're going to have loss on a 5-star in your own backyard, and that's going to have a really bad look to it. And I think that could lose some of their momentum. So obviously, this is a big one for Notre Dame. But there's also some big recruitments in the 2022 class. Xavier Nwankpa went to Ohio State this past week on an unofficial visit. I'm hearing all types of different things. Here's what I can tell you for certain. I feel really comfortable saying that his family loves the idea of Notre Dame being his future home. I think Xavier is back and forth between Notre Dame, Iowa, and Ohio State. I feel if it was just based on not just what I'm hearing, but also having been doing this for a long time, what are the things that I look for? What are the key things when a kid says one thing, but then he says other things? I feel if I were a betting man, I would rather be where Notre Dame is right now than where Iowa and Ohio State are. And I mean that like what's going on the field. I mean that what's going on, with the recruitment, the classes they're putting together. I think all those things to me in the end are going to be what helps Notre Dame in that matchup. Now, I'm not going to, if I was doing the crystal ball thing, I would not put one in for any team because I think Xavier doesn't know where he's going to go yet. But I do like where Notre Dame is. The battle for Anthony Lucas and Hero Kanu, I don't feel as good about where Notre Dame is with either guy. They're in it. They're in with both of those kids, but those are two uphill battles. Receiver, I have no clue what's going on. I'm trying to do some digging. I'm going to try to find out. Another thing I'm trying to find out is if I'm Notre Dame and I'm an aggressive recruiting staff, I'm looking at what's happening at Penn State with, number one, the on-field struggles, and number two, all these rumors about their coach going to USC. I'm calling up Drew. You want a second quarterback in this class, right? I'm calling up Drew Aller. I'm calling up Nicholas Singleton. I'm calling up Caden Saunders, and I'm calling up Drew Shelton. If Notre Dame doesn't reach out to those 4 kids, I'm going to be upset because you've said you wanted a second running back. That was your number one guy on the board. You've said, and I'll be honest with you, here's the interesting thing. If there's one guy of that group they're not going to go after, I'd rather be Nicholas Singleton because I feel like with Jadarian Price and the job he's done, if I had to choose, it's not that he's not a great player because he is. He's my number one upside back on the board. It's just that with Diggs, with Estime, with Price, you've already got Cedric Irvin, who's not as good as Nicholas Singleton in next year's class. It's more of a numbers game. I feel the need for a Caden Saunders type of receiver. It's why I want Xavion Bradshaw so bad, is greater than a second back in this class. The need for an athletic offensive tackle like Drew Shelton is greater than the need for a second running back in this class. Because again, I really like Jadarian Price. And that's where a lot of it comes from is I love Jadarian Price. And I liked him a lot. He was a top 200 to 250 kind of guy as a junior. We found out recently through Brian Smith, who was down there. Apparently, Jadarian played his whole junior season with injuries. He was not 100%, and he's 100% now, and he is having a dominant senior season. He rushed for 308 yards on 22 carries this past weekend with Brian Smith in attendance. So, and he had a 50-yard screen touchdown called back because of a penalty on his offense. So he's having a monster year. And then, of course, Drew Aller's just a stud, and everybody knows my opinion on that one. So that's another thing that I'm looking to see what Notre Dame does. How aggressive are they going to get in 2022? I think part of it, too, is they're getting a little concerned about numbers. The numbers are getting a little bit tight, which tells me that they are looking to bring back potentially more fifth years than they were before, or they're going to be trying to tap into the transfer portal a little bit more than I thought, because there should be room for a few more 2022 players. But the conversations I'm having with sources is that Notre Dame is really tight with numbers right now. And that tells me that there's some things that they're looking to build their roster in ways other than just bringing in high school kids. That means fifth years. That means transfers. I think there's going to be some transfers out, just like there was last year. That's going to become a more common thing now, not just in Notre Dame, but everywhere. So I would hope that they would not pass on any of those guys. But that's what I would do if I were them. And there's going to be some coaching changes. Like, so, for example, TCU just fired or Gary Patterson resigned. mutual parting of ways is what it's called. I mean, call Major Everhart back. Hey, man, look, what's the deal? Like, we're pretty stable here, right? Because his final 3 was Texas Tech, TCU, and Notre Dame. Well, 2 of those schools have since fired their coaches since he made his decision. That's another one that I would do. So I want to see this offensive staff be aggressive in trying to flip kids. And if they're not, that's just lazy. I mean, there's no reason not to, because there's a lot of kids out there to be had. And that's kind of what I want to see. Q Kibbs 97 says, any rumblings on a timetable for Dante Moore? I have not seen any rumblings on a timetable. He doesn't have a timetable set right now. But I think he could just decide. I would not be shocked if he makes a decision sometime this winter to early spring. I don't think he's going to carry it out, because I think Dante is a really smart kid. And Dante understands that being a great quarterback also means being surrounded by other great players. And he understands that he could be the ringleader to a great class. And I think he gets that. So, for example, if Cardinal Tate picks Ohio State and Dante Moore picks Notre Dame, if I'm Notre Dame and I'm a real coaching staff that actually knows how to recruit a champion, I'm not stopping to recruit Cardinal Tate when he commits to Ohio State. If hypothetically, if that were to happen, I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what I'm hearing from my sources. But if you stop recruiting him, that's a you problem, because then if you're able to go out and get Dante Moore, now all of a sudden you have a better shot of getting him back in the fold. So those are just some of the things that I am curious to kind of see, to be honest with you. We're going to see how that plays out or not. So Daniel De La Cruz says, we need game breaker at wide receiver position. It's great to be tight end, but that's not enough to compete with the elites like Bama, Ohio State, Georgia. Don't disagree at all. I think Notre Dame's 2021 recruiting class at receiver was very good. We're already seeing that with Lorenzo Styles and Deion Colsey, and Jaden Thomas as a sort of a rotational guy. And the 1-2 punch they have in 2022 is to me as good as just about anybody in the country in Tobias Merriweather and CJ Williams. It's 2 top 100 players. To me, Tobias is a top 50 player. SI All-American has him as a top 50 player too. Now, they need to add more to that for sure, but we'll see kind of how it all plays out. I talked earlier about Cardinal Tate, Walker Howard. Look, I think Walker Howard likes Notre Dame a lot. I said coming out of the visit that I think they're in a much better position with him than I thought they were going in. He really likes Notre Dame. The family they bonded a lot with a lot of the Notre Dame commits families. At the end of the day, however, it's all going to be I'm not really thinking too much about Walker Howard until I see who LSU hires as their head coach, and then who that person hires as his offensive coordinator. Because ultimately, this kid Walker Howard's from Louisiana. His dad played quarterback at LSU. He is an LSU commit. There's clearly a love there. But he also is a smart kid, and the family's smart to know there's a lot of chaos going on at LSU right now. If they make a splash hire and that guy makes a good OC hire, unless it is an OC kind of person, then I think LSU is going to be hard to beat. But if they don't, then I could see Notre Dame being a major player there. I do. And then, yes, Xavier Watts is still on defense. Xavier Watts will not be going back to offense at Notre Dame unless there are some major coaching changes and personnel changes going on. So that I don't think that's going to be the one. And so people are asking, Sean, who do I think transfers out? I don't know who's going to transfer out, but there will be transfers. There's transfers every year. I mean, that happens. Some of them are going to be transfers where it's Notre Dame says, hey, look, we don't have you can come, you have a spot. We promised you a spot, but you're going to be buried on the depth chart next year. There may be some 5th-year seniors that could come back that they say, hey, look, yes, you can come back, but we think you'd be better off going somewhere else and finishing your career somewhere else. There's going to be transfers. I'm not saying that to be sneaky, like I really know who's going to transfer, but I can't tell you. I'm not saying that. I have some thoughts on who I think might transfer based on my own opinion, but a lot of the stuff I've heard about, this guy may transfer, that guy may transfer, this guy may transfer. You hear that stuff every year about guys that aren't playing a ton, and either A, they start playing more, or B, they realize that there's going to be a coaching change. I think that if there aren't coaching changes on offense, you're going to see more transfers. If there's a coaching change or two on offense, then you'll see guys who I think are thinking about transferring deciding not to. And I'll just leave it at that. But I don't have specific players that I know are going to transfer. I just know it's going to happen, and it's going to happen to everybody. Ohio State's going to have transfers. Bama's going to have transfers. Georgia's going to have transfers. Everybody's going to have transfers. And you have to think about that when you're planning your classes. And Notre Dame is to a degree. So we'll just, but now you also have to plan, okay, if we think we're going to lose X number of transfers, what are the spots that we may pursue transfers? If I'm Notre Dame, I'm looking at the safety portal. I'd consider linebacker portal just because you're going to be thin there on numbers outside of your freshman class. I would consider that. I would consider wide receiver, but it would have to be the right guy, and I just don't know if that's somewhere I would go. I think corner, safety, and linebacker are the three positions where I would have my eye open the most for a transfer, and it's really a lot of it's because of the poor recruiting that was done before this current staff got here on the second and third level, which I'm going to have something on that at Irish Breakdown later this week. So that's just a little bit of recruiting updates, not a ton there, but obviously there's going to be a big one this weekend. And, this week is going to be off the board, whether this week. So tomorrow night, whether it's going to be Notre Dame, whether it's going to be Clemson, what's going to be Auburn, we're going to find out. We'll have to see. It's we have a comment here, a couple questions here. Let's see here. Sean Davis. Nope, this one. Sean Davis is Miles Brennan transferring out of LSU hurt Notre Dame's chances with Walker Howard. Seems like LSU QB job is wide open. I don't think so, because the reason Miles Brennan is transferring is because he wasn't getting a job back because Max Johnson was there. So I don't think it really matters one way or the other. They were going to lose a quarterback this offseason regardless. So I don't think that necessarily moves it a ton. Tall Ken Chit. I don't know what that means. Louisiana players going north. Notre Dame would have to be like Bama, a gateway to the Raiders. Notre Dame's had a lot of success in Louisiana recently, and a lot of it's because they beat LSU twice. They obviously got Jerry Tillery in 2015. They got Michael Young in that part of the 2017 class. Got Lawrence Keys as part of the 2018 class, and of course, two of those guys have transferred. And then recently they got Logan Diggs from Louisiana, and they currently have a commit and a Morin Walker from Louisiana. So they've had a lot of success. A lot of kids from Louisiana have visited Notre Dame. And you got to understand, it's a very strong Catholic connection down there in Louisiana as well, which certainly helps Notre Dame. And then we'll get to this here real quick. Timeout, Tom. Which seniors do you think Notre Dame will take back for their fifth year? Tom, I'm gonna have a conversation about this after the season, because so much of this depends on how the season finishes. That's a really big thing. So I'm not going to get into that just yet. I want to see how certain things fall into place. And that'll be a bigger conversation for down the road. So, but it's definitely a good question. Just the timing of it, I want to wait till after the regular season is over before we get too much into that. So anyway, so that's going to be it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed the college football playoff talk and a little bit of recruiting discussion. We'll be back tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern to talk about the first college football playoff rankings. Tomorrow we'll have a Navy preview. We'll do a stacking up article featuring Notre Dame versus Navy tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow night at 9 o'clock we will we will carry the Drayk Bowen announcement, and we'll discuss whatever he does one way or the other. We'll discuss what that means for Notre Dame. If they get him, what it means. If they don't get him, what's next. We'll go that direction. Thursday, we'll be back on track, normal schedule. We'll do our prediction show, and then Friday will be a mailbag. Saturday, we'll have a post-game show, and Sunday upon further review. So we're going to get right back at it. So I want to thank everybody for being with us today. Thank you for everyone who asked questions, super chats, and the great discussion that we had in the chat that people who are watching can't see, but it was really a really great chat going on today. So appreciate everybody being with us. Have a great rest of your day. Check out irishbreakdown.com. If you have not signed up, go to boards.irishbreakdown.com and sign up. I'm going to have a ticket giveaway for this weekend's game. So, might as well do that now, right? So if you want to go to the Navy game and you want tickets to the Navy game, obviously there's other ways to do it, but I have 2 tickets for the Navy game. The first person that we did this last week, and somebody did it right away, but the first person to sign up for an annual membership to Irish Breakdown, and you can find it at boards.irishbreakdown.com. We'll get 2 tickets to the Notre Dame Navy game this weekend. So if you're interested in doing that and you want to support Irish Breakdown, you can get a couple free tickets with it. So appreciate everybody being part of the show today. If you're listening via podcast, give us a 5-star review, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and sign up for the message board. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon.